Hey YouTube. So, I've opened it up. Everything seems to be solid inside. I didn't really get a lot onto this surface. Some parts here though are quite firm feeling now, like there's definitely some structure to it. I think rather than there's like a string of it where it must have hardened as it was gooping somewhere. But yes, as I was saying, I think instead of trying to do more on the inside, because there is a little bit of plastic in places, I might just worry about doing the outside. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. As before, it's this side that I'm concerned about. That's where all the visibility is. The back is going to be up against the costume piece. So let's set this up. It's not really a flat piece, so I'm not sure how all these things are going to work. Oh, well, about that well, huh? That's keeping it off. That should be fine. I only needed 3. Just have to be careful when I paint it. So what I'm going to be using are these super cheap paintbrushes because you only really get one use out of them. And they fit nicely in there. For the moment, I think I'm just going to reuse these things. I'm not super concerned. Technically there's a bit of plastic at the bottom, but I wanted to put in less anyways. And now I'm going to use the Smoothcast 321, both parts. Give them both a shake. I'll not be filling 2 cups at once this time. I will just be doing the one and then basically using it up. Find that on this one, if you can see that, you can't. On this one, the cap wants to always seal itself. So sometimes you need to get creative. Luckily I've got a wrench thing here that kind of fits on the lid and I can use to give myself enough leverage to turn it. Once it starts going, it breaks the plastic seal and then you can do it by hand. Alright, so here we go. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to want somewhere to throw this plastic stuff. Just use this. You guys can't see, but trust me on it. Alright, so I'm going to fill this up to just below the fill line. And then the same deal here. Set my stopwatch because allegedly I got 7 minutes now. Because this stuff takes a little bit longer. I thought I had and actually had gloves, but I didn't think far enough ahead to actually put them on. Because I don't want that stuff bonding to my hands. Since it's on the outside now, it's going to be a bit trickier. Just need to be careful, I guess. But alright, let's give this a stir. The other question is whether or not I think I can even use this much up before it starts to solidify. I think it does recommend you stir it for a minute. Should probably follow the recommendations, but I'm playing it fast and loose. In retrospect, I probably should use the clean cup too, because it's kind of redissolving a bit of the plastic that was already in here. Hopefully that doesn't turn out to be a bad thing. Alright. I'm just going to put that in there. It's going to heat up a bit. And basically just give it a nice coat of this everywhere that I can. Without knocking it off of those little painter's tripods, I hope. You know, as I suspected, in between those parts is going to be tricky because it doesn't really, the paintbrush doesn't really fit very well. Now this is why I got the gloves. In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have sealed this with the Mod Podge first. I probably should have painted this first. Because what I'm finding is, if you just put it on bare cardboard, it like absorbs in and it kind of sticks. But with the Mod Podge, it kind of doesn't. I also think that I might have deeply overestimated the amount of this stuff that I could use on one coat. So I might end up wasting a bit of it, which isn't good, but I'm sure these are all lessons that I learned before. I should have watched my old videos back so that I could see. I already feel it getting a little bit tackier now, and I have used barely any out of the cup. And I can see the spots where I didn't get the Mod Podge, because then it nicely absorbs in and plasticizes things. I can tell where all the low points are because it's just like flowing down into that. Well, now I know for next time I need to make like a third of the amount of the resin at a time. For slush casting, it's fine. In fact, I wish I'd had more, but that 3D printer is looking more and more attractive every time. been 6 minutes, so I can already feel that I'm running out of time just with how it feels as it's going on and how it's looking, and I've got so much of the cup left. So what I might end up doing, it's probably going to be a bit messy. Oh yeah, there's definite drag now. It's not going on like super smooth. Kind of wants to stick a bit. And again, it's all pooling up down here where there's a very low spot compared to the rest. Well, I guess if it was an easy process, everybody would have one of these costumes. But yeah, I think I'm almost at the end of the pot life. You know, also the problem with these cheap brushes is that bristles will also break off. And then they stay super hardened. Alright, let's see if I can do this without causing too much of a disaster. I'm just going to take the rest, and in it goes. Well, I think that's as good as it's getting. Let's see if I can set this back down properly. Good enough. Just grab up any of the extra resin that I can. Try and glop it on. A bunch of it ended up on the desk too. But I can scrape that off. That hopefully won't be an issue. I should probably stop working with it, but I kind of want to make sure that I've used as much as I can. It's all coming back to me why I've been looking for other ways to do this, because it's a bit stressful and more finicky. Like, the paper mache had its own problems, but this is just, you have to make sure that things are going to work right, because you don't have time to really make very many corrections. Just trying to absorb any leftover that I can get onto the paintbrush, then slop it back on. Very technical terms, I know. I probably should have a respirator on too, but I've got a window open nearby. As soon as I'm done talking, I'll put on a fan, so don't think it'll be a big problem. I can also see where there's spots that just don't think I'm going to be able to sand. In retrospect, I might have done the Pepakura a bit differently, but you know, 5 year ago me didn't really think about it. I mean, I modified some of the patterns a little bit, or the templates a little bit, which a couple people have asked me for, so I've got a Dropbox with them. I might include that again, because it's on an old video. Every now and then someone says, hey, can you share those templates? And I'm like, well, they're here. Watch all my videos, haha. Alright, I'm going to call that done. It's getting pretty tacky. I don't know if I'll be able to reuse these gloves or what'll happen. They definitely got a bunch of resin on them because I was handling the part. But it looks like an okay coat on the outside here. Guess whatever I set these gloves onto, it's going to stick to. Come on. I know if I pull them off inside out, there's no hope of salvaging them. Of course, now they're like vacuum sealed onto me. Oh well. I'll just have you go there. I don't really care about the bench thing that I'm working on. It was like a salvaged piece from an old office I used to work at. It was originally a cubicle. But enough about that. I'm going to leave this to go, and in the next video, I'll let you know if I'm happy with what happened. I'll have to put some plastic on the back side as well. It's kind of leaking out too, but not much I can do about that at this point. Maybe get some of the more egregious drips. Kind of flatten them back down. But I'll have to find a different way to pull those off. If I were smarter, I might have put a piece of cardboard down or something, but I'm pretty sure that I've done this before, and I'll find a way to scrape it off just with like a piece of metal or something. But I'm blathering. It's been too long, and I will see you guys next time.